this is Adam from CryptoAssessments.com, here to bring you the state of Bitcoin. It's been slightly over a year since Bitcoin forked into Bitcoin Cash. Now we've seen what a year of both assets has produced, and we've seen some pretty major price fluctuations. We're currently in a bearish trend, but we've had a somewhat eventful week, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to step in and present an analysis of where we're at with these Bitcoin assets. So the big news with Bitcoin this week, there was a lot of anticipation because the SEC was due to make a decision on yet another Bitcoin ETF. An ETF is an opportunity to trade the asset without actually having to hold custody over it. And a lot of investors speculate that once an ETF is approved, it will attract a new type of investor that won't necessarily want to hold Bitcoin, but will want to invest in it nonetheless. Now, we've seen this happen before when Bitcoin futures was added in the past year, and we've seen the opposite of a bullish trend. We've seen the price decrease steadily since that listing from an all-time high of $20,000. Now, the reason why the SEC rejected the ETF was because they claim, or they suspect, that the exchanges don't have enough control over manipulators and those that would be bad actors in this space that they would be regulating. So as the SEC suspected that this could happen, that's almost exactly what we saw in this week. BitMEX, a popular margin trading platform, went down for scheduled maintenance, and in that time when it came back up, the exchange had further issues and had unexpected downtime shortly thereafter. What we saw was a very rapid price rise in the value of Bitcoin from the low 6,000s up to the upper end of the 6,700 range. It doesn't make it, it almost reinforces the SEC's hesitation to list these assets, list Bitcoin as an asset that would be valid for an ETF. When one exchange that offers margin trading goes down and you see almost $600 price rise within an hour, you have to suspect that there was something amiss there. Now, the exchange itself, BitMEX, claimed that it was a DDoS attack, which is a denial of service attack. That may or may not be the case. I'm not here to investigate that, but the fact remains is that if one margin trading site can have such a strong effect on the price, that does mean that the SEC has some sense of reasoning behind their decision that is valid or can be perceived to be valid. That said, once they made that decision, we saw a return to the price that we were the lower end of the 6,000s before the BitMEX issues and the rise that came before it. We have since then, that was on Wednesday, August 22nd, we've seen a slow and gradual return to the upper end of the 6,000 range, which was where we're at now in the $6,700 price range. As the market matures, speculators are starting to realize that new potential listings are not make or break for the asset. So those that are getting in and thinking that they're going to moon over these small rises or these decisions that come and go, if you've been here long enough, you know they come and go. You're making marginal money. You're not I don't know what would have happened if the ETF was approved, but my guess is it wasn't going to be make or break for this asset, and it could very well have had an adverse effect on the asset, as we saw when futures was listed earlier this year. That said, these price fluctuations for Bitcoin are not. I mean, it's still trading at 30, 32, 30, between 30 and 35% of its all-time high. So, I mean, it's certainly down from where it was, and it has all the same issues that it used to, despite still being the king of cryptocurrencies, meaning that it has the most trading pairs against it, and it's the highest price by market cap asset that exists. You know, it has the longest history. However, when the price starts to go up again and the network experiences major traffic, the same issues are going to arise. Lightning Network has not been successful. I don't want to say it's been unsuccessful, but it hasn't been a panacea for the issues that have been plaguing Bitcoin at all. So when we do see high traffic and high volume, we're also going to see the mempool increase and the price of fees go up until a solution is solidified for this chain. Which brings me to my next topic, which is Bitcoin Cash. Not to be confused with Bcash, which is merely a way for detractors to insult the asset without giving it the credit that it deserves. In fact, this is the fruit of a multi-year scaling debate that was plagued by censorship and unsavory tactics such as paid message board shills and other such disinformation agents to control the information flow and ultimately the minds of investors and those that would research. Now, Bitcoin Cash solved the scaling debate without needing major engineering upgrades. It simply changed the block size, which is now 8 megabytes instead of Bitcoin's 1. Bitcoin Cash is not producing full blocks right now. So the 8 megabyte upgrade has been more than enough at present time. And I've been very pleased to see innovations taking place, such as Twitter, an iteration of Twitter on Bitcoin Cash, and just the mere attempt to find censorship-resistant social media alternatives is very inspiring to me in this day and age. I'm actually kind of surprised to see that the Bitcoin Cash community is at odds with itself, because it doesn't even need the solutions that people seem to be fighting over. That said, I've looked into this, and there are two major development communities that are at odds with one another. However, we're fortunate enough to have a third development community, which is Bitcoin Unlimited, who's willing to say that they will bring all proposed changes into one implementation and allow miners to vote for the aspects, which is to say, run the aspects that they want to see in the asset, which is what Bitcoin is supposed to be anyway. It's not what the developers want, it's what the miners want, and the developers are simply pushing ideas that they think will be good for the asset. They are not in a position, and should never be in a position, to dictate what passes. It is simply not the way these decentralized assets work, and anyone who would be using their clout or using, as I said, unsavory tactics on different social mediums across the internet should not only not be trusted, but should almost be dismissed outright. Because if you're willing to compromise the asset to push your idea across, I have to wonder why you have that idea in the first place. So thank you, Bitcoin Unlimited, for being reasonable in this time of uncertainty, because whatever changes are down the pike for Bitcoin Cash should only benefit Bitcoin Cash. Nothing should be detracting from its potential, and this infighting doesn't help us very much at all when you see that the ratio against Bitcoin is sliding. Now we recently crossed below 0.08 BTC from an all-time high of zero point 0.5 BTC, which was, $3,500 then, and the asset's a little bit over $500 now. And I still think there's a bright future for both assets. However, Bitcoin Cash did solve the problem that the community that was censored wanted, which is Satoshi's vision of scaling the block size to scale the network. And I hope, it is my hope, that we can rally around Bitcoin Unlimited's approach to simply include the solutions that come forward and allow the miners to vote for what they think is best for the asset. They call that emergent consensus, and I think that's exactly in line with this decentralized vision for what these assets can provide us. 0x Bitcoin is an ERC20 smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. It follows the Bitcoin protocol near exactly. It has a halving mechanism. It is distributed through proof of work. To this day, it is pure mined. The wallet distribution is very well spread out, with 4,000 plus wallets all holding various amounts. But what you don't see is anyone like Satoshi Nakamoto, who has quite a bit of the supply even to this day. Nobody, it wasn't one person mining this thing to start. It was a community of people who were pursuing this asset. And so what we have is a proof of work mining token that is an alternative to the ICO model of producing tokens, whereas one developer could click a button and produce any number of an asset that they wanted to before they ICO'd them, which is sell them to the masses. This mechanism ensures that these tokens are distributed in a predictable way that can be achieved only through mining or purchasing on the open market.
Again.
Yeah. So in summary, we have Bitcoin, which is, chugging along, doing its thing. It hasn't received mainstream adoption from the SEC yet in terms of ETFs, but that doesn't necessarily make or break this asset. It seems to be doing just fine on its own for all of its flaws. We have Bitcoin Cash, which provides the community of cryptocurrency enthusiasts the alternative that they wanted. And again, this is an open market, and we should all get what we want, and we'll see what happens in the end. But this infighting, I think that it's temporary. I'm not going to speculate on what the price does from here, but I just want to say thank you again to Bitcoin Unlimited for fighting the good fight. I knew you were doing it back before Bitcoin Cash even existed, and it's good to see you still here doing that, holding strong to the ideals that we hold for decentralization. And I hope that the community itself can see through the BS that takes place on a lot of these websites. It's very hard to find the truth in this day and age when everyone can have an opinion and broadcast it however they want. But for what it's worth, I really do appreciate that there are some good guys in the space that are trying to preserve those ideals. And we have 0x Bitcoin, which is very new. It's almost it's a little over half a year old. There's only 3 million of them out there right now. By the time it halves, there will be closer to 12 million or 10 million. But the potential there, to me, is massive, given that most people in the crypto space have no idea about it. And it is something that Ethereum needs, because the ICO craze is thankfully, in my opinion, coming to an end. People were giving away money for next to nothing. A lot of these tokens have not produced gains for their investors, and now we see these investors are are waking up to that fact. I don't know what the future holds, but it is good to see innovation taking place on the Ethereum blockchain, and it gets a spot here by way of being a version of the Bitcoin protocol. So thank you very much.